We are pleased to have you here for our annual performance meeting. My name is Alexander Juno, and I am the GM of this wonderful establishment. To get started, let me tell you about the Mystery Hotel. The Mystery Hotel opened its doors in 2011 and is a 4-star, full-service hotel located in the heart of the city right alongside the waterfront. The hotel accommodates multiple different client segments such as business, leisure, tour, and both small and large groups. Prior to this year, the Mystery Hotel hasn't received any refurbishment since its opening day in 2011. However, this year multiple refurbishments have taken place. Currently, the Mystery Hotel has 250 rooms, with 50 of its rooms being premium rooms. The hotel has one restaurant with a capacity of 125 pax, just alongside its 50-seat lounge. The hotel also has a 2,000 square foot conference and event center that can be easily rearranged to suit all customer needs. The hotel has both an outside pool and recreation area. The Mystery Hotel offers all services that can be found in a full-service 4-star hotel, such as international phone services, parking, guest laundry, dry cleaning, in-room digital entertainment, and room service. In the previous years, the hotel hasn't been performing fantastically and has experienced a steady decline in performance due to a soft economy and a decrease in tourism. Financing has also been extremely difficult to achieve in the last few years, making refurbishment highly difficult. In the last 3 years, our occupancy has been falling drastically, from 78% to 54%. The same can be seen in our ADR, which has fallen from 180 to 170 and finally 160. Our GOP has followed the same trend from 31% to 24% and finally to 17%. The Mystery Hotel is positioning itself higher than its competition. Regarding our pricing strategy, our hotel is using a value-based setting to maximize our occupancy and then finally increase our rates out after. However, things have changed. There are some promising developments in our economy, in the market area, and in our hotel, which have led us to a high-performing year. Let us tell you about our annual performance review. We will be analyzing our performance per quarter to facilitate the understanding and also to explain all the impacts our decisions have had on the hotel's performance.
To create our starting rate, we took the rounded net rate from the previous year and added on the reservation costs. We then put this into an Excel sheet to have a RevSIM calculated through each month, making it easy to conduct percent increases to our rates. Regarding our trigger points, when occupancy fell below 55%, we would decrease our rates by 5 to 10%, and when occupancy was over 75%, we would increase our rates anywhere from 7 to 15%. In regards to variance between weekend and weekday rates, we would add $5 to $10 to the weekend rate. This graph depicts the percentage increase of rates per distribution channel between January and March from the beginning of the quarter. As you can see, we steadily increased all the rates for all channels and heavily increased the rate for the large group in response to the relocation of a headquarters, which was meant to impact business and corporate demand.
Based on forecasts for Q1, the economic indicators were slowly growing compared to previous years. Our hotel managed to keep its advertising costs below 6% throughout the year. During the quarter, marketing expenses represented 4% of total revenue. Most of our advertising was invested in direct bookings, as this represented our highest stream of revenue as seen on the graph.
In Q1, to respond to the high level of corporate demand, we chose to invest straight away in facilities such as the business center and services like guest rooms, internet to facilitate business travelers' stay. Furthermore, we invested in express check-in and check-out and foreign exchange to add useful services and make interactions more efficient. As per refurbishment, we focus on both cleaning and soft goods redo on most aspects of the hotel, mainly meeting rooms and associated facilities. As expected, the major investments translated into increasing rooms revenue and an increase of our ADR by 12% between January and March.
In Q1, we can see a steady upward trend in guest satisfaction, which can also be linked to the mentioned revenue and ADR increase. The investments also led to a positive start to the hotel's reputation overall, with a 73% average score and reaching a peak of 80% in lobby and public areas and front desk, determining our strongest assets. This influenced our decision to refurbish and invest further in those assets, but also to focus more on our weakest ones, like parking grounds and pools. An investment made for the environmental program led its reputation to peak at 100% in March, a score none of our competitors achieved, therefore representing a competitive advantage. Finally, our high reputation scores translated in a higher overall market share and therefore a revenue increase by 35% between January and March.
In Q2, we increased our rates more than the last quarter, as we were informed that the segments are willing to pay for more hotels whose facilities are in good condition, a service that we were sure to invest in. In hindsight, we see that it would have been beneficial to increase our small group rate as well, as we can see there's a continuing demand for family and social events, especially on the weekends. During Q2, our wholesale rates are much higher than the average competitors due to our effort to ride the wave of airline and holiday promotions and push our other distribution channels to make a higher profit.
Throughout Q2, a budget was allocated for the promotion of tourism and low-cost airline carrier. Due to these factors, our marketing expenditure was increased by 59% in relation to Q1. In order to match the high demand in discounted promotions due to the discounted airline customers, we decided to increase advertising by 5 times for discounted rates to attract customer behavior. We can see the impact of this in the occupancy, which increased from 62% in Q1 to 74% in Q2 due to high demand season. And comparing this to the competition, we had an MPI of 102.2 during Q2.
Q2, to increase the customers' willingness to pay, we chose to invest more in this quarter, focusing on keeping our rooms and facilities clean and in good condition. In addition to the response to the forecasted rise in leisure tourism, back in Q1, we decided to invest $20,000 in a travel and tour desk to satisfy leisure guests' necessities. Finally, to increase our overall reputation, the hotel invested in soft goods redo, specifically in June, also to prepare for the peak season to come. For example, in June, we invested in soft goods redo for parking grounds and pools, associated facilities, and also meeting rooms. As a result of this investment, we have seen our ARI and RGI growing, justifying our market share increase to our investment decisions and our ability to meet customers' needs.
In fact, our guest satisfaction levels steadily increased throughout this quarter. Consequently, these decisions positively impacted our reputation scores for April in particular, which increased by 8.7% on average on all major aspects of the hotel. However, our environmental program reputation decreased, leading us to invest in soft goods redo in June. This quarter represented the hotel reputation's peak, although financially this quarter did not feature its top profitability.
Here in Q3, we begin to look at the difference in variance between Q1 and Q3 in relation to direct as well as GDS/OTA due to a new difference in the two. As you can see, there is a larger variance for direct than for GDS/OTA, as we can make a higher profit due to the lack of commission for direct booking. As you can see in the chart that shows the amount of profit contributed by each channel throughout Q3, direct contributed a significantly larger amount than the other, leading us to invest and focus more on direct bookings.
For Q3, we decided to increase our general marketing as high season for travelers was expected to occur. Also, due to the increase in demand on discounted flights in the region, we increased our advertising for discounted rates by 2.2 times to capture this demand for lower rates. Our marketing expenditure increased by 35% in relation to the previous quarter. The expected occupancy for the quarter accounted to 65%, while our property achieved 76% during this time period as a result of our marketing.
In the third quarter, due to the many investments made in the past month, funds were low, meaning we did not invest as much in the third quarter. However, we did invest in the transport van service in June to improve the service level and increase efficiency for our guests. Despite low funds, the Mystery Hotel invested in various soft goods redo, such as front desk, with the scope of preserving quality throughout the busy season. We also invested into contract cleaning and services for meeting rooms to match the forecasted business demand and anticipate the business and events demand for the quarter to come. We suspect the poor investments triggered the start of a downward trend revenue-wise, although due to the high level of demand, Q3 is still the quarter featuring the highest overall profit.
The general guest satisfaction also decreased, which we can attribute to the lack of major investments. As per reputation, we also noticed a drop on most aspects, especially in August. In fact, the hotel's reputation dropped to 56% in August for parking grounds and pools, our lowest score so far. We responded by investing on soft goods redo in September, which eventually led to an increase of our reputation score for this category in the following quarter. We explained the general reputation drop firstly by how the competition better adapted to the demand's needs, suggested by our sudden drop in ARI from 100.97 to 97.2. Secondly, the general occupancy increase meant a higher number of people could be dissatisfied. Nonetheless, the low reputation scores did not negatively impact profitability, and our occupancy rate compared to the market was still consistent with an MPI of 102.6.
In quarter 4, we increased our rates less than in quarter 3, which was a misstep as there is a high demand in regards to tour wholesalers and individuals, as well as continuous report of RFPs and contract businesses, small groups, and on top of all this, reputation is increasing. This mistake is further backed up as there is a 28% decrease in profitability from direct bookings between quarter 3 and quarter 4, resulting from the lack of increasing our rates.
During quarter 4, we lowered our advertising for every distribution channel except for wholesale. The regional promotional budget had a record response, which made us believe that there would be an opportunity to capture this demand. We increased marketing expenses, but the results were lower rooms sold through wholesale, creating a negative correlation. We advertised on GDS and OTA to attract groups. However, this was a mistake, as there was no predicted demand for these distribution channels and was only generated by direct sales.
In the last quarter, to respond to the forecasted demand of leisure outweighing business guests, we invested in cleaning and services for our parking grounds and pools facilities and soft goods redo for public areas and front desk, for instance. However, because business demand was also forecasted to increase, we chose to refurbish associate facilities. Due to how the funds were still low and the decreased overall demand, we chose not to invest in facilities or services, which could have potentially increased satisfaction and potentially profit. These choices impacted our performance, as one can see notice the general revenue decrease. However, December's revenue increased by 3.5% despite its previous decreases.
Overall, this quarter's decision didn't stop the gradual decrease in guest satisfaction, particularly for public space and rooms refurbishments. In quarter 4, one can also see the reputation scores decreasing further, especially in December, where we reached a record average score of 59%. Our lowest scores were related to our guest rooms, both premium and standard, which we assume were caused by our lack of refurbishment investments for rooms. Due to our 52% score for associate facilities in October, we also invested in soft goods redo, which finally increased it to 65%. However, all other aspects dropped, which might explain the occupancy decrease to 58% in December and consequently our MPI decreasing by 2.6% compared to the third quarter.
Global performance. This shows the comparison between total revenue, net profit, and GOP of the Mystery Hotel per quarter. In the quarter 1, the net profit was only 5% of the total revenue as we decided to invest back into facilities and refurbishments for an anticipated high season in quarter 3. In quarter 1, we also began responding to our reputation scores by investing in refurbishments, facilities, and services, which will help increase our guest satisfaction. In quarter 2, we can see a climb in all three values, with net profit percentage jumping from 5% to 18% and peaking with 25% in quarter 3 due to the high season. Quarter 3's revenue was projected to be the highest as refurbishments were completed, and we decided to increase our room rates due to forecasted high season. During quarter 3, we were compelled to lower investment of refurbishments and renovations. The transition from quarter 3 to 4 shows a drop in revenue and percentage of the net profit. As a result of a spike in demand, we did perform better than other quarters, but it opened up a possibility to have more guest dissatisfaction and hence reflecting in the low performance of quarter 4. As you can see, the charts, we have selected to display the revenue mix and shows which of the non-room departments were the most profitable. As you can see, other channels of revenue hold an average of 8% as we invested in Business Center in quarter 1, with Mystery Hotel having 20% of sales from groups. The low percentage of revenue by Business Center is due to slow economic conditions compared to 2 previous years, but with a promising climb in economic indicators. Despite having the Business Center completed in the end of the first quarter, we only observed an increase in revenue from the Business Center in the fourth quarter despite its early opening. We observed an increase from 5% to 22% in revenue of non-room revenue. This is due to the new airline carrier and discount airlines that were introduced to the market. This is also due to the increase in marketing investments during quarter 3 as it was expected high season. This chart shows the room revenue mix per quarter. We can see that the bar standard package contributes most to the total room revenue when looking at profit per distribution channel. When looking at the profit per distribution channel, we can observe that the direct bookings are the most popular for our hotel as we have low distribution on transactional costs. This is followed by GDS. We can also observe that the bar standard is our most profitable segment.
After analyzing our hotel's performance per quarter, we have short-term and long-term recommendations that we'd like to implement. Our first short-term recommendation is to invest in concierge to attract more leisure guests and increase our overall occupancy and guest satisfaction. Our second is to adapt marketing expenses to demand by allocating it to profitable streams that target relevant segments. For For our first long-term recommendation, we think we should invest in large-scale renovations for rooms to increase customer satisfaction and market share. And finally, we believe we should accept interesting RFEs to increase both our weekday occupancy and our ancillary hotel revenue.